All right, and welcome to the first ever episode of the Topper Talk podcast. I am your host, Stephen Moffett, aka Mobster. I'm joined by Tyler Bailey. If you're not sure where to find us, you can find us on Twitter at Topper_Talk. Um, this first show's been a long time in the coming here. Tyler, as you well know, we kind of put some plans together a year ago to make this happen, and it took us a while to get here, but we're here now, man. Welcome to the show. I'm glad to have you.
Man, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. Yes, this has been a long time coming, and I'm just really glad that we're able to get this going.
All right, so most of you all that know me, that follow me, are probably familiar with my past history with the Moonshine Throwdown podcast. That we did with Marshall with a couple buddies of mine, KD and Trace, covering that rivalry and just everything going on in Conference USA. Then, of course, a little over a year ago, Marshall made the official announcement that they were leaving Conference USA and going to the Sun Belt, and that was happening pretty immediately. So they left the conference, and that kind of ultimately killed the Moonshine Throwdown podcast. And from there, myself, and KD, talked about continuing, the podcast on the WKU side of things. I ended up linking up with Tyler. We've known each other, mutual acquaintances through Twitter. We've linked up at spring games in the past. And we actually had planned on putting this project together last year, and kind of booting things up around the spring game, kind of like we are this year. But unfortunately, I had some things come up for me on the work side of my personal life, and I just didn't feel like I could put my full effort and give all the attention that I need to do this the right way, and make it a good project, and just have it be a podcast that I'd be proud to be responsible for and a part of. So, last year around this time, we decided, hey, let's punt to next year. And now as we've gotten closer to, obviously, this year, spring football, etc., Tyler and myself have kind of ramped things back up. We've talked about it. We've had a lot of things just, we've had to do a lot of legwork to get here. And now we're finally here. We're recording. We will try to be on all your favorite podcast platforms, anywhere you can listen and find podcast. You should be able to find us, whether that's Spotify, Apple, YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, you should be able to find us. That's our goal. That's our plan. If for some reason you can't, or, your platform isn't supported, please reach out to us. Let us know, and we will gladly, get that podcast to your preferred platform. So obviously, me. My name's Stephen Moffett. You can find me on Twitter at Mobster. I am with Tyler Bailey. He is on Twitter at Tyler Bailey 730. You can also follow him there. So I want to bring on Tyler now as co-host. Give Tyler a chance to kind of talk about himself, kind of the ride that it took to get here. I know he's glad that we're finally kind of kicking this thing off. We're ready. We're ready for football season. Granted, it's still spring football. There's still roster stuff going on, and coaching staffs are still being ironed out. But Tyler, man, glad you're here. Tell me about how you feel that we're finally here. We're finally recording.
Man, I'm actually beyond excited to be able to do this with you. As a Western fan, I've really tried to embrace, the culture ever since I became a fan, and just to do this and be able to keep up with the news and everything, it really is awesome, and I'm excited to do it with you. Um, I grew up in Park City, about 30 miles or 30 minutes south of Warren. Timestamp that. Let's do that. 30 minutes outside of Bowling Green, and you know, I've always known a Western. I became a fan probably about 2015. I would later go there in 09, where I met my wife. We married last year. Grew up playing basketball all my life, so I've just always been a fan of sports. And I mean, this is really just awesome from my side of things. And yeah, that's about it for me.
Awesome, man. I love to hear it. I'm glad to have you. Obviously, we've been acquainted and friends now for a while on Twitter, and obviously at some spring games and football games over the last couple of years, we've got to link up. So, as we begin this podcast, we have a lot of big things we want to do. We want to be the number one source for news, stats, information, games, recaps, just everything going on in Western Kentucky. Um, but at the same time, I still want to talk about, you know, some of the things that we will cover and won't cover. Obviously, we're going to cover all Western Kentucky athletics. Anything going on that's relevant to Western Kentucky, the Red Towel, any of our athletes, coaches, news, stats, anything going on in Western Kentucky, we are going to cover it. As long as it's relevant to Western Kentucky. What we won't cover, what we're not going to dive into, we're not going to dive into rumors and gossip. Stuff that's not materialized info, and just stuff that's not substantiated, stuff that's not just we're not trying to rake the coals of stuff that's not materialized and not going on. Now, myself, I am located in Bowling Green. I do have my ear kind of close to the university. I have several friends that are, very well known within the athletics programs, the coaches, players. That being said, I'm not going to be a person that is going to be here breaking information on this podcast. That's not something I'm going to do unless the people that I know that are in the know tell me, "Hey, Steven, I want you to announce this on your podcast." That's not something that I am going to do. So we are going to be very just covering the facts, covering the information, just covering what's going on, and what's relevant to Western Kentucky for that week. We're going to try to have weekly episodes and cover the teams, cover the players, stats, facts, and relevant information. We're not going to be gossip spreaders. We're not going to be, talking about Bobby Knight being at Outback, just all that stuff that's going on. And that if you listen close enough, you can hear those rumors. We're just going to stick to the facts and just keep it real and just talk about what's really news. And that's what's important. So, this intro episode, we really don't have any big talking points. Most of our episodes are going to have focal points of, what we're talking about. Next one's going to be the spring game. We'll be recapping what we saw at the spring game, the roster, coaching changes. We'll talk about basketball. I'm sure we'll talk about softball, baseball, just stuff going on across the athletic department. But the main topic is going to be the spring game. We're going to be really lean heavy on football information this spring and fall, and obviously still touch on the other sports as well. But that's kind of be our big focus for episode 1. But this episode, really, I just want to have our listeners, people that know us, that find us on Twitter, however you find us, whether it's a retweet or you follow us already, or just whatever avenue it is. I just want you to get a chance to know us and who we are, and whether you knew us already before you listened to us, or whether this is the first time you've seen our names, you've listened to us. I just kind of want to give Tyler a chance. I know he's talked about himself a little bit already, but just, Tyler, tell us a little bit about your time at Western Kentucky. Maybe some of your favorite sports memories, your favorite players, just kind of what hooked you into becoming, a Western Kentucky. I'm going to call you a super fan. You're doing a podcast about Western Kentucky sports, so you're a super fan. You're that guy, and what drew you into Western Kentucky?
Well, I guess I could say, basketball was my first love, and I went to a Darren Horn basketball camp whenever I was younger, and just walking around, the concourse and seeing all the history behind Western, athletics. That's something I love to do, and some of my favorite memories is every time Randy Lee says "Holy moly!" I mean, that's always a good sign. But no, I guess my time there, I started college in '09, and the football team was on a drag there. But um, trying to think something. Uh,
Favorite player, favorite memory. Give me something.
Favorite memory. Well, I know one of my top memories was whenever we beat Marshall there in 14. Taking down a top 25 opponent to ruin their season pretty much, or to play. That's spoiler, if you would. That's always a good time. I remember, sitting there and my favorite players would be, Mitchell Henry, Jack Doyle. Then of course Brandon Dowdy, he was there for 6 years, so he was definitely slinging that pigskin all over the place. So that was always fun to go watch him. I was there when Bobby Petrino got put in as head coach there at that announcement. It was always just fun to go there, just be around Western athletics during my time there. I was there during the
Elson.
Ken McDonald.
Oh, Kim McDonald days.
Yes, I remember them days. Of course, that was a sour patch, but I remember Ken McDonald's last game. I was there in Diddle whenever the Raging Cajuns had 6 players on the court, and it's hard to win when you're playing 5 versus 9 or 8. But we always had fun. But yeah, I mean, between growing up watching Courtney Lee dominate, Jeremy Evans. I'd say probably one of my favorite players was Justin Johnson, just a hard-nosed player who just packed his lunchbox and went to work every day. You knew what you was going to get. Of course, then you had the walking highlight, Josh Anderson, after I graduated. How many times was he on the ESPN top 10 plays of the day? He made, John Elmore run away like a little girl. I mean, what more can you ask for as a Western fan? We have shortcomings in the conference tournament and getting to the NCAA tournament, but hopefully this upcoming season, that's all going to change, or the next few seasons, at least we get some transfers coming in. But I'm just excited for the future of Western athletics. I think we're on the right track in football. We got Reed coming back. That's going to be seeing what he can do. I think maybe we could finally break our Big Ten losing streak this season. Ain't no reason we can't beat Ohio State. I mean, they put their pants on the same way we do every morning, right? But I think we're in the right direction in the Western athletics. I'm just really excited to see what will come to us.
Awesome, man. obviously I'm glad to have you. We've taken on this venture, and I know we're going to have fun. And most people listening to this probably know me from Twitter. I would assume know me as kind of a loud and very vocal and big supporter of Western Kentucky. But to kind of dive a little bit further into me, I'm from the Owensboro area. I grew up and went to school in Owensboro, Davis County. Came to Western in 2002. That was the year we won the 1AA national championship. My first semester on campus. We also hosted the Sun Belt Conference basketball tournament that year. So those two things, kind of my first, calendar year, my first two semesters on campus, winning a football championship and then hosting a tournament that was pretty exciting, with players like Chris Marcus, Practice Sparks, David Boyden, Mike Wells. We had a pretty good basketball team back then. I was hooked, being from Owensboro. Obviously, we live in a UK dominant state, but I had never latched on to really any college team until I came to college. And those kind of two big things really hooked me to Western Kentucky athletics as I finished my my collegiate career, and as I got into working now in the restaurant industry. I just so many players, like I asked you some about some of your favorite players. You mentioned Justin Johnson, one of my favorite all time. Um, hard hat, comes to work every day. Football wise, I was a big Ace Wells guy. I think he was really underestimated and kind of underrated for the productivity that we got out of him. Brandon Dowdy, big fan of Brandon. Mike White, obviously. Bailey Zappi, now Austin Reed. It's hard not to cheer for the guys breaking records and just really throwing the football just everywhere. We've kind of had a long lineage of. We had a bunch of good running backs come through Western. We've had a bunch of good tight ends come through Western, and now it seems like we're kind of on a quarterback string now, from Dowdy to Mike White to Zappi to Austin Reed, who seems to be paving his way towards potentially an NFL career. So, I've obviously been hooked for a long time. Huge basketball fan. I love being at Diddle for every single game. Same with being at the Houch for all our home games. Try to go to as many away games as I can. I am married, have been married for going on 12 years now. We have 3 kids. We try to bring them to as many games as they can. Just weather dependent, just depend on everything going on in our lives with sports and school and just everything. We try to bring the kids if we can, but if they want to stay home, they're getting to the age now where they can make that decision if they want to come or not. So, but yeah, my Western roots are, they're not as deep as some people. If you look across our fan base, and people have been fans since the 70s, 80s, 90s. I feel still fairly young as a fan, becoming a fan in 2002 when I came to school here, but I quickly embraced the tradition and just the history of excellence that Western has had. And obviously, I just want to see that keep growing and growing and growing and going forward. Basketball, baseball, football, just every sport across the board. I just want to see us win as much as possible. And I look forward to talking about that, on this podcast, just stuff we see, games, results, players that are excelling, coaches, just everything going on, national leaders, conference leaders, just players of the week. It's going to be exciting and fun to kind of touch even on sports that we don't necessarily follow as much as we should. Kind of the sports that are non-revenue maybe don't get as much acknowledgement as they should. That's going to kind of be another thing that we try to do is shed some light on those guys. Those athletes are putting on a Western Kentucky University jersey, just like all the other ones, the football and the basketball guys, volleyball, baseball, everybody else, and they're trying to compete and win championships. So I really look forward to just covering everything across the board, trying to shed light and just get people to pay more attention to Western Kentucky athletics and just be more knowledgeable. Um, Also want to just kind of talk about kind of our future plans. Obviously we're in early to mid-April. Spring football is going on right now as we're recording. It's late Thursday night, early, going on early Friday morning, looking at the clock a week before the spring game, which is planning on being our first kind of big launching episode, kind of our big, diving into information, players, what we see, depth charts, and then even talking about some basketball stuff, coaches, transfers, obviously a new coaching hire in basketball. Then as we get into July, we'll obviously start to get into some position breakdowns. Again, if you followed me before with the Moonshine Throwdown podcast, it was something we did every single off season. We talked about position breakdowns for every position across the offense and the defense leading up to week one. We did schedule predictions. And then, as we got into season with football, we would do recaps of every game. We would do previews of every game. And, that being said, we don't have anything solid, right now lined up, but I'm hoping as we get into the position breakdowns, and again, that's probably into July before, the end of August when game one is kicking off, when we start position breakdowns. But we're probably going to have some guests join us, relevant to the positions that we have. Like I said earlier, I've got some contacts within the athletic department. We know some people. We know current players. We know former players, and even coaches. We just know people that can come on and just talk football with us, as that's going to kind of be the relevant topic in the spring and going into the fall as we gear up for the beginning of football season. So we're kind of putting a teaser out there. We're planning on having some names. We don't have, again, nothing's in concrete right now, but those things are kind of being laid out now. We plan on having players that are going to join us and kind of elevate what we're doing and what we have to say and just give us more insight, into things that, us, the casual fan, don't know and don't see and can't discuss because we've never been there. We've never done that. So I'm excited about it. It's going to be fun. Tyler, come in here. What do you think? Obviously, we've kind of covered a lot here. Just talking about where we're at, how we got here. Looking forward to our future, kind of our summer series of position breakdowns. What are you kind of looking forward to as we look at the spring game coming up soon, and then position breakdowns? What are your thoughts looking forward to future episodes?
Well, I tell you, I've been running since you did mention Ace Wells, and we ain't really had 1,000-yard rusher, as best I remember, for the last few years. So I think it's, we, of course, with the quarterback slinging it, I think we're about due to have dual threat quarterback that's going to sling it, and a running back, take some pressure off of him. Is going to just run it all over the field. I think I'm looking forward to the linebackers position breakdown. See, we lost, I think, Will Ignat, and and some of them players. And of course, we lost D'Angelo Malone. He's been gone last year. We need some defensive line, offensive line for sure. A bunch of them are gone this year. So I think I'm really looking forward to see how Helton reloaded those positions. And I'm just excited to be able to bring this show to the fans, help out the other fans, maybe break some news, some interviews like you teased earlier. I think it's going to be pretty awesome, man.
I agree 100%. So, um, I just kind of want to give, I guess, my final words. Just this first intro episode of Topper Talk. I mean, we're both obviously really excited to be here, really excited to be finally recording. It feels like this has kind of been on hold for a year plus now that we were talking about doing it. And obviously waited till this year to put it all together. And man, we're both just super excited to be here, super excited to have the opportunity. And anybody that wants to come listen to us, we're glad to have you. We just want to be that number one source of information for everything that is WKU relevant in sports, athletics, players, coaches, news, just anything. We want to be your go-to source, and that's what we plan on being. We're going to be your most reliable source, um, your most consistent source, and we're just going to put out the best quality product that there is. So, Tyler, man, go ahead. If you got any final words, I'll let you kind of kick it here. Give those final words, and if nothing else, just give us a sign off, and we'll get out of here and gear up for the spring game that now is just a little over a week away. So, give us your final thoughts, or take us out of here.
All right, man. I'm excited about spring game. See what product's going to be on the field, and see how they've all been, I guess, gelling together in the off season. But man, hey, I got one question for you. Who has it better than us?
Hey, Tyler, nobody.
Go Tops.
Hey, go Tops, man. Hey, Topper Talk. Till next time. Later.